Hello, seventh graders. So for this beginning of our historical fiction unit, we're going to use the video and the short story, A Christmas Memory by Truman Capote, to answer the big question. How does where and when you live affect how you live? So we're going to be looking at some of the clues that you found in both the short story and the video to help you write a brief writing prompt. So let's take a look at a graphic organizer on the next page to help you plan your writing. So, in A Christmas Memory, the main character Buddy and his friend Sook live in the 1930s during the Great Depression. They live in Alabama in a small town. What I want you guys to do is to respond to the following prompt. Explain how the time and place of A Christmas Memory affects how the characters lived. So you're going to restate the thesis. So, for example, living in the 1930s during the Great Depression affected how Buddy and Sook lived. And then from there, you're going to talk about how. So in this graphic organizer, you can see some subtopics that I've come up with. So like, for example, how did money and economics affect their lives? Well, they were poor. So we can talk about how they did everything they could to raise money. So they raised money. And one way they did that, they entered contests, they picked and sold flowers, they made homemade jams and jellies that they sold, they had their Fun and Freak museum, they killed 25 flies for a penny. But the bottom line is everything that they did to raise money was really difficult because during the Great Depression, having money was something that was not very common. Another subtopic you might want to talk about might be some of the laws and customs. For example, prohibition. One of the fun pieces of this story was the visit to Ha Ha Jones Cafe. Because alcohol was illegal to be bought or sold during Prohibition during this time, Buddy and Sook had to sneak into the cafe, and they were scared, and it wasn't a place that they really should have been, but they needed their whiskey to make the proper fruitcake. So as you look at these different subtopics, I want you to jot down some notes. For example, what was their home like? What furnishings? They did not have central heating. They heated by a fireplace. Transportation, they used a buggy. You saw in the film there were the old-fashioned cars, but people also used horse and wagon for tools and appliances and utensils. Anna, the servant, did all the laundry by hand on a washboard and a wringer. Their clothing, all the women wore dresses and hats. Buddy wore, even though it was wintertime, Buddy wore shorts and a jacket. So I want you to really think about how this time period affected the way Buddy and Sook had to live. So that's going to be the focus for this essay, is how does life in the 1930s during the Great Depression in rural Alabama affect how these characters lived